Hello and welcome to episode 46 of Entertainment of Excellence, the podcast where we talk about films, TV, all of it. Hi, I'm Ollie.
And I'm Ben.
And today we're talking about the 2018 film Tag. This will contain spoilers.
Yeah, that's entertaining.
Okay, so Tag follows a group of famous actors. I mean, normal men
Rascals.
who rascals, sure, who have been playing a game of tag, or as the correct people say, TIG, for 30 years. Well, it's only 1 month a year during May. And they try and TIG their friend who hasn't been it the entire time because he's too good. So they try and get him during his wedding, which he planned during the only month that they play TIG.
Yeah, why did he have his wedding in May? I don't understand that.
I know, like, maybe, to be fair, he might have just been using it, like, as an excuse to mess with them. Because he did... Except, though, he seemed, like, a bit angry that, like... Oh, who knows?
Yeah, because then he's, like, at the end he's saying, oh, you should have been there beside me, so why didn't you just organise it not to be in May and then invite them? But
Yeah.
sure, that's been a pretty good alternative.
Yeah. Well... Because that would make sense.
What were sort of your first impressions of this then?
I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it was very?
I think it was very. 10 out of 10, the movie was very from start to end.
Referencing an IMDb review, by the way.
Yes, because truly, the peak film reviewers post IMDb reviews, so I always have to check my opinions are correct with them beforehand.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah,
we
10 out
always
of
have the
10
correct opinions.
Was very from start to end. Oh yeah, we always have the
We
correct
just happen
opinions,
to
sorry.
agree with them on that point. It was very.
It was very.
Yeah.
So I think the script was like, in terms of jokes, I thought it was fine. There weren't any standout jokes for you. There were none where I was like, you know, like, laughing hysterically at. But I don't know if there's like a certain joke where I was like, you know, like that was a bad joke, except for one specific thing, which we'll probably move on to talk about later. But you know, there were some things I remember. Like I just liked Hannibal Buress's character because I really like the Eric Andre show, and he's on that. So that's probably, you know, I'm a bit biased, but I thought that he had some good lines, like the ice cream thing about being lactose intolerant and bi-weekly being stupid, a stupid word. So I think it was serviceable, but it was definitely helped by the really strong cast.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You had huge names, you know, Ed Helms, John Hamm, Hannibal Buress, Jeremy Renner, and they were great at it. Like I don't think I've seen John Hamm in anything really comedic before, unless you count like Baby Driver on a thin connection. But yeah, he's great in everything I've seen him in. Ed Helms is obviously really good at playing the one character that he plays in every movie.
I feel
But,
like Jeremy
he does a
Renner
good
was
job
just
at it.
fed up of being the Avenger that everyone makes fun of. So instead of like being a powerful Avenger, he instead
He's a
is the
powerful
person that's
normal
the
man.
best at Tig in the world. Yeah.
People said that he played a parody of himself, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
He
pretty
was
good at
actually
Tig.
surprisingly good. Yeah,
All right.
I don't think I've ever seen a role like this before, but I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think the whole ensemble's like chemistry really helped. Like if that didn't work, the film would have been unbearable.
Yeah.
What did you think, Ben, going into this thinking it was a horror?
I don't know. I think it might have just been because the last episode we did, well, yeah, officially the last episode we did was a horror. So maybe I don't know why, but I ended up going into this just thinking it'd be a horror. But then like Ed Helms just being in it and like playing the one character he always does kind of clued me into, oh, this might not be a horror.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was good. It was very, you know.
It was very. I think it started off really strong. Like the first half an hour,
Yeah.
25 minutes, I thought it was great. Like I remember. Okay, that is one joke that I did really like was John Hamm throwing his chair against the window to try and get out, and it just bouncing off and hitting him. I thought that was pretty good. And it has a lot of the momentum, and like you get to see the first time they find Jerry and that like ridiculous over the top thing, which works as like a one-off gag, but then they do it more, and you're like, and that first half an hour made me go like, I wish this was just an episode of The Office or something.
Yeah.
I choose The Office because obviously Ed Helms is on The Office, but
Because if you don't know, this was based on like a real events of these people that have been playing Tig for, I'm not sure how long, about 30 years probably. So like at the end, in the end credits, you kind of get a montage of what it's based on. But I do definitely think that as a concept, it doesn't necessarily need to be a whole film. And you do have a lot of like the cliche characters. You have the guy at the bar who's like an outsider who really wants to be involved in the game of Tig, but he never gets to. You get the wife who's really competitive. Obviously, you have Jeremy Renner's character who's like really takes it really seriously because he's really good at it. So I feel like a lot of those are kind of tropes that you'd expect from something like this, but I think it works pretty well. I know this doesn't sound the most flattering, but I think just the sort of vibe it had was like the best bits of Daddy's Home 2 in a way. That's how I felt.
I think one problem this film has that now that you go like over the characters is that I don't think they could really write them
because the
like, at all.
reporter literally contribute that much at all. I quite liked the scenes where we might come on to this, but they had some quite stylized ways of storytelling at points, like the sequences where you have them chasing Jerry. Those bits were kind of like, you know, and to move sequences from that, and then also in one particular moment you kind of get these inside perspectives from different characters, and at one point it just goes to her and she's sort of thinking, this is why, I think it's the line something like, this is why print media is going out of fashion, and that's like the only thing I really remember from her character apart from at the start. She literally just is completely sidelined.
Yeah, I don't think this film passes that. What's the test called where it's like two women speak to each other about something other than men?
Oh, I know.
I don't think that happened.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
There was. See, the thing is, I quite liked her character at the start. I felt that she could be a good addition. Like, in a way, you know, she's also.
Yeah, it's like she's the audience stand-in.
Yeah, in a way, she's also kind of a caricature. Like, she's that reporter who's befuddled by everything that's going on. But I did quite enjoy a lot of the scenes, like, at the very start, where she's just like, what the hell's going on? But then I forgot she existed, like, towards the end. And
Yeah.
was she even in the last scene? I don't...
I think yeah, she was there because she got.
Yeah, she
at
was
one point.
in that. I saw her in the little wide shot of the hospital where they ran across the windows.
Yeah, well, I didn't notice her, so... It's like,
Yeah,
if she'd had more to say, and maybe if she'd questioned the decisions that they were making a bit more, than, like... she just did not react to when... Do you remember that, well, you obviously do, but that scene where they fake having a miscarriage, and...
That's what I was going to talk about.
Like, she just did not react to that, and that's, like, an awful thing to do.
We'll move on to this now then. Like, why? Because it's such a terrible thing that people have to go through. And then in this, like, weird, lighthearted, just supposed to be goofy movie, they decide to have someone fake a miscarriage. It's like... And then they just kind of play it off like, oh, you can't really take the moral high ground. You faked a miscarriage. It's like... That's kind of messed up. Like, it's really...
Yeah.
It could be funny in isolation if you were
Why?
just joking about a miscarriage as, like, a dark, like, joke, but like, the way that they would just...
I don't even know.
It's just, like,
when they were setting up that twist, I thought that it would be something like the wedding's not actually going ahead, but she did genuinely have a miscarriage, because I was thinking it might be a bit dark to... the point is that she's not even pregnant. She sets that up at the rehearsal of the wedding. So, it's this big elaborate plan, which is... It's just really weird, that because it felt really jarring when they arrive at the wedding, and then she's just like, "Oh, hi, yeah, sorry about pretending I had a miscarriage. I'm sure you can just forgive me for that instantly." It's like, what?
And I don't understand. I don't understand why is it. It's such a weird
and also,
thing
I didn't get
tonally.
her character really, like, at all, because it seems to start out that she just doesn't like them because she thinks they're, like, immature and they're gonna ruin her wedding and all of that stuff. But it turns out that she's more like... She's in on it, and she's supporting Jeremy Renner. I've forgotten his name. Jerry. Like...
Yeah, I don't know, that thing, it just didn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
Kind of it was like, yeah, the movie up until that point I was like, oh yeah, I can get with this, but then that I was like, I don't know, that was a bit much.
It kind of, not that particular bit, but there's some bits in it that kind of worked, but were also a bit questionable, that were similar to that. So you had the characters clearly dealing with some quite serious issues. Like, one of them had been through a divorce and was kind of dealing with drugs. One of them, you see, well, Jerry's kind of dealing with alcoholism. One of them is speaking to a therapist, and you can, and then at the end, obviously, it's revealed that one of them has cancer. And I kind of like the idea that they're kind of like, they just meet for this game, and they're kind of embracing the childish side of them, but then it does overlook all of these problems, and it kind of just laughs about them and says, "Oh, let's forget about that." And I don't know, I don't think it always worked.
Yeah, it's like the idea of each of them having this sort of character flaw or just, like, problem that's happening to them seems like it would work very well, but it was just... I feel like sometimes they were just kind of played off as if they weren't as serious. Like, the one that really kind of got me was, like, the whole scene, like, the Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, where it seems like Jerry's really got a problem, but it just kind of gets snowballed out the way by this, by the TIG game, and no one really addresses the fact that, oh, he has a problem, and it kind of like, it might just be me, but I feel like it's just, it probably wasn't intentionally, but it kind of gives the vibe that it's like dismissing it a bit.
Yeah.
And the same a bit with the therapy at the start, because the therapy was, like, clearly not helping. It was like talking about unplugging metaphorical dicks.
Yeah. And then because I think there is some sort of dialogue where it's like, should we be worried about this? This seems quite serious. But then they're kind of like, no, let's just let's just overlook these quite serious problems. And then it's never really brought up again.
Yeah.
Which it kind of works because of because they kind of deal with themes and ideas about they only really see Jerry when they're doing this game of Tig once a year, and they don't really have that connection with him because he's always trying to escape from them, and he thinks that's the point of the game, whereas they're arguing that no, it's a way of bringing them together. So that kind of justifies, I guess, these quite weird ideas that are brought up earlier in the film. But I think the fact that they try to make it comedic just felt a bit out of place.
Yeah, it felt like they were gonna go into a bit more detail about Jerry kind of not being there and the rest of them. Like, they obviously have their lives and individual stuff going on, but they do seem to kind of keep this friendship like they are obviously still friends and stuff, and they'll probably see each other outside of the game of Tig occasionally. But
Yeah.
But then it just seems like Jerry's just on his own. He's taking the game too seriously. It's kind of lost the friendship because of that, and that could have been something to explore. Like, it's, again, it's a little cliche, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad if it was executed right. But it just seemed like the only thing that came of that is, like, at the very end when it's revealed that Hoagie has cancer and he's might not be there next year. He's just like, oh, guess I'll let you take me, and then everyone has fun, and that's okay.
Like, I didn't really understand what the implications of that were. Not the cancer, but just the idea of not being overly competitive, because they were kind of I like the idea that they were favoring the fun of it, but at the same time I just don't think that really worked as well, because I don't know, I just feel like a lot of the ways that it deals with it, in like emphasizing the comedy, it kind of diminished the kind of quality of what they were trying to say at a point.
Yeah. Yeah, because at its heart, it is a comedic film, but it did seem like it was trying to give some other messages as well, which I'm assuming was something along the lines of, like, that childlike fun spirit is good, but make sure that you don't leave anyone out, and
Yeah.
and then
it's like growing up to be more emotionally mature, I guess. So I guess it was saying about, like, to have fun, but
responsibly.
Yeah.
I'm having a lot of computer issues right now. I apologize.
You sound creamy.
Okay. So it was about, like, being emotionally mature, but you can still have fun, is what I was feeling.
Yeah.
Did you get that also?
Yeah, kind of, but at the same time, I guess that's kind of the lesson that Jerry learns, because I think there's a line where his wife says, if you're going to carry on playing this child game, then at least, be a bit more mature about it. And the implication of that is be more competitive. But it does kind of show the two sides of it, with them who do a lot more for fun, whereas you kind of see the negative aspects of him taking it too seriously. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. Just trying to think of other stuff to say. I'm great at this. Okay, so oh, I've got. I feel like we just rushed through a load of points really quickly.
Yeah. I quite like the music in this. I think that worked quite well.
Yeah, same. Like I didn't. As for like the score, that I didn't notice much of it, but like the songs that were included kind of enhanced what was going on the screen. So, like the sort of rap that's often used in comedies, like worked here as well.
Yeah. What did you think of the I was mentioning it earlier, but like the actual scenes where they were playing Tig, where they kind of had that very distinct style kind of following each of the characters. I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, so did I. I also quite like the. I mean, the gag kind of didn't work as well, like as the film went further on in the plot, but the cinematography around when like Jerry was deflecting all of the people trying to Tig him was very good.
Yeah.
So kind of the Matrix style.
Yeah, I thought it was good, but it did get a bit old. Like, as a one-off gag, it worked pretty well. But I don't know, I couldn't. When it was like the third time, I was like, okay, can we speed this up? You've told this joke before, kind of thing.
Yeah.
What did you think of the whole like love interest storyline that was going on between Callaghan and Chili?
I mean, it was alright. It didn't really add much to the plot, though. It kind of just was there.
Yeah.
Like,
because it kind of, I like the idea that all of the characters had flaws and they're all imperfect. But as I was saying, I kind of like the way that they combined both that in terms of the comedy that was in it and kind of the jokes that they're able to play off that, but then also, I guess, kind of the lessons that can be learned about that in terms of the plot.
Yeah. The whole love interest thing, I just felt like it was okay, I guess, as like a side plot, but it, especially that bit where they kind of start fighting in the restaurants. I wasn't really invested in that. I was just a bit like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was kind of shoved in
and
to
like
force conflict, and it didn't really work. I think that's one thing that the film lacked was real conflict.
Yeah.
Well, the main driving force was just, oh, we want to take this guy that hasn't been hit yet, and then they're like, well, that's not enough conflict, so we're gonna randomly shove in a miscarriage, and then they don't even care about that. I don't know. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, because a lot of these like conflicts that are added to the film, they might have worked if like the characters seemed to care. It's just like okay, going back to that scene where they're both fighting over the girl in the restaurant, like that happens for like 30 seconds, and then Ed Helms is just back going like, right guys, we need to get together, we need to take him, and everyone's just like, yeah, okay. And it didn't really play out as much as it could have, and that miscarriage thing, like I did the implication of like, is it real, is it fake, like annoyed me in the context of a miscarriage, but like as a plot point in the film could have worked so much better, and could have actually been good, because because there's that line. It's whether they're taking it too far and whether they've like genuinely upset their friend.
If it was a different movie, maybe, but yeah, it just felt really wrong.
If it wasn't so much of a comedy movie, maybe, then if it was like played out and they were actually worried about the miscarriage, then like sure that could have worked. But
yeah, I mean the only thing that I kind of liked about that miscarriage sequence before you actually found out that it was fake was the idea of kind of what are the boundaries, what limits are there, how far are they willing to go for this game, because you kind of get that montage where you see one of them as their wife's having a baby and they get tug and stuff like that, and
his father's funeral.
Yeah, but then you obviously have the character of Chili, who kind of is shown to be maybe the least sensitive character, because he doesn't really know his boundaries, because he has that point where he's like, well, at the wedding when they first arrive and he's talking about whether she deserves an actual miscarriage, and then also when he's talking to the love interest and kind of saying, I'm glad your husband died, and then she's like, no, that's too far. But I did like that idea of, you know, like what are the limits to this game. But when you find out that it was fake, I think that's kind of, it's quite interesting that you went into this thinking it was a horror, because I feel like one of the an issue that I felt was quite big in this was kind of a bit of a tone inconsistency, because a lot of the stuff was kind of played off for laughs, but then you had some quite dark stuff, like obviously the miscarriage and things like that we were talking about, but then also some of the actual like the sequences of the games of Tig themselves. You know, you had like the more comedic ones with the like dressing up as an old woman, but then you also have the one where he lures them into the woods and uses like loads of people that they think is him, and then uses chloroform, and then you also have that one where he's like pretending to be in his childhood bedroom with like his teddy bear, and it just gets a bit weird and dark and kind of out of place with the rest of the film, I felt.
Yeah,
I think one of the things is that it's straight. I don't get the message, because it's talking about like having fun, but also respecting like emotions, or learning to actually connect with people. But
yeah,
like it has that message, but yet also seems to say that faking a miscarriage is fine. I don't think you can have it both ways.
Yeah, it's
especially because at that point Jerry is kind of being presented to the audience as the one that doesn't really have any flaws, and then you see the miscarriage and you're like, that is quite manipulative and just morally wrong. But then you kind of get that redemption near the end of the film when they're all in hospital and they're kind of discussing the problems that he has.
Yeah, it's that balance of like being too dark and that, but also I did quite like the theme of if it was done better with like
yeah, maybe think something other than a miscarriage.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say like because when Ed Helms is in the hospital at the end, and obviously everyone's first question is, "Oh, is he faking it?" And Chili like asks the doctor, "It's like, yeah, you can tell me it's a fake, it's a ruse," and it's to a degree that could have worked, but it's just, you know.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the Truman Show references?
I did.
Yeah.
Of course, as Truman Show fanboys.
Yeah.
You have to.
Of course.
Think this will get a similar rating to the Truman Show.
I don't know. Was the Truman Show very?
I think the Truman Show was absolutely.
Damn.
Yeah. See, I think it was partially the Truman Show. Yeah.
I think it was slightly.
Slightly. Okay.
If you've just, if anyone's just listening, they'll have no idea what we're talking about.
we just keep having people like drop in for like 2 minutes and then go, and I love the fact that we just can't retain any attention.
Yeah.
We're just great like that, unless it's like Thom opening the stream on his phone.
No.
I mean, to be fair, we've talked about a lot of the problems with this, but I think it did do, apart from like some of the issues with like the tone and stuff like the Miscarriage, I think with the concept, if you're trying to translate that into an hour and 50-minute film or hour and 40 minutes, I don't really see what else he could have done. Like, I think the comedy worked pretty well. Not maybe the most memorable, but and as you were saying, the performances and the characters themselves were quite engaging.
Yeah. Nice.
You good?
I'm sorry, but you know when he's like saying to Jerry, "You might be the best person at this game in the world." Well, he's clearly never watched Professional Tig.
Professional
Have
Tig.
you ever seen that? It is.
Oh.
They do like parkour and it's pretty intense to watch. But
damn, we should do that.
Are you an avid fan?
I've watched it on at least one occasion, so yes.
You are an avid.
When did you watch it?
When?
Yeah.
Do you watch it as research for this movie?
Preparation for this episode? Yeah.
No.
Why not?
Well, I'll just say yeah.
That means you're a real fan.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'd kind of like to know how accurate this is with the actual case of people playing Tig for 30 years, because I know at the end...
I'm going to say not very.
Yeah. I mean, at
not
the
very.
end, you got a bit of footage, and not very.
Hello to the person that's just joined. The very is a reference to an IMDb review where he said the film is very. Just very.
Because I feel like I'm very glad that they didn't include 10 characters, because that would be a bit over the top, because I think in the actual thing it was 10 people.
Gosh. Yeah, that would be a bit of a nightmare to keep a hold of.
Yeah.
But then they kind of they sidelined the journalist character in this though, so that really annoys me, because she could have just brought a bit more and been the sort of rational voice, like telling them that they've gone too far or something. Like, she just seems like at the start she's just, what the hell is going on? And then she just becomes invested in it and then disappears. Like, doesn't have any lines for the rest of the movie. It's
a
bit of a shame. So, I'm gonna try and keep the attention of the person who's just tuned in. What did you think of the spins wheel? What did you think of the directing in general?
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, there wasn't anything like outstanding apart from.
I mean, there were the Jeremy Renner Tig scenes were pretty good.
Yeah, but to be fair, they weren't that original. It seemed to be sort of a reference to the Matrix a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the Matrix, because the narration suggests something else. I don't know what.
There's probably something in that style. I just can't think off the top of my head.
Do you know a moment that I found was really weird? You know the bit where they're driving in the car, and I first thought it was meant to be a flashback to them playing Tig, but I'm pretty sure it's just some other kids playing, and then they're like, "Wow, look at those kids playing a kids game."
I was confused about that. I mean,
did I zone out at that bit?
It's only like a brief moment.
It's when they were like
laughing at kids for playing Tig when they.
Yeah, it was near the start of the movie where they arrived in like Jerry's hometown or whatever, and the children.
I don't remember that at all. That's so weird. This movie is so forgettable.
I mean, it was kind of a brief gag.
A few hours after watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have forgotten a lot about this movie in like the 2 hours since I've watched it. Like, it's not that it was bad in any particular way, apart from the slightly morally ambiguous miscarriage thing we've ranted on about for like nearly 20 minutes now. It's just that I don't think anything particularly stood out to me as really unique apart from the concept. You know?
Yeah. I think I've seen a lot of reviews of saying like, yeah, the movie was fairly enjoyable to watch, but I'll forget about it in a day.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair.
Yeah, it is.
Oh no, I watched this film a couple of days ago, and I still remember.
How do you remember it, Ollie?
There you go.
How?
It's impossible.
I don't know.
It's all that professional Tiggy's been watching. It just jogs his memory.
Half of it's already disappeared from my mind.
Yeah, I've noticed I've been like struggling to think of things to say for this podcast. Like we kind of rushed through the main points in the first 15 minutes. I mean, luckily we're almost.
I liked the final shot with the hospital.
Yeah, that was good.
Cool.
I feel like the twist that, well, not really a twist, but just the reveal that he has cancer. I would say that it was a bit predictable, but then there wasn't really that much foreshadowing. Apart from
I was going to say
saying like this is the last year, and then you have that moment where they're actually in the hospital and they're like, you shouldn't be doing that with your condition. And at this point, all of them are still thinking that it's all fake, which is, a bit.
There's the bit in the shopping centre where he says he's not afraid of dying. And I was like, that's kind of a weird thing to say.
Was that foreshadowing? I felt
so.
It might have been. It's good.
Maybe I'm giving the writers too much credit.
Yeah, good foreshadowing is subtle enough that like you don't necessarily know exactly how the twist is going to play out, but in retrospect, you're like, oh, yeah. That. I just can't think of any specific examples apart from like 2 minutes before the actual reveal where it's like in his condition, which isn't so much foreshadowing as introducing the twist.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that bit was kind of weird, but I did kind of enjoy the last scene in the hospital. I felt like quite rewarding.
It felt like it was. I don't want to say forced in because don't think it was. But it just made me remember like lots of similar movies where like similar twists happen at the end. Like, oh, the main character's been dying all along, guys. That's why all this happened. Like, it worked in this case, but a little part of me is just like, yeah, okay, whatever. That's just how these sorts of movies end.
Because I mean, I did like that kind of expression on Jerry's face as he finally submits to being tugged, because he can, he's doing it, but he's still a bit reluctant, and he looks really painful that he's actually letting them do this. And then you kind of see that change when they start playing it in the hospital, and he kind of pauses for someone in a wheelchair. If that was him a couple of days ago, they'd probably just like fly kick that guy in the face and carried on running. But
yeah.
something that Thom was also saying before we started recording was why did this really need to be a 15?
Was it a 15?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I looked at the parents guide and it's used 60 naughty F words. I know. But
it's had F words in it? I
every
can't.
time.
I couldn't
Yeah, I
even...
know. I
Yeah,
don't remember.
no, every time it did for me, I was like, ooh. Like, I watched The Wolf of Wall Street and that was fine. But in this movie, I was like, ooh.
I just can't
was
remember
kind of-
anyone ever
It just
swearing.
felt like it was supposed to be
Neither can
a
I.
family. It was meant to be. I feel like it was supposed to be a family film, but then
Yeah.
they were like,
Yeah,
Well, I
because
mean,
I didn't realise it was a
R-rated
15,
for
but
some
then
reason.
in retrospect, when I was thinking about maybe why it could have been, I thought either because of like the idea of alcoholism and drugs that was in a bit,
Yeah.
or the I mean, there was a bit of not necessarily violence, but like nothing that wouldn't you wouldn't get away with having it in a 12. I just completely
and
forgot
like
about the swearing.
that bit of saucy flirting between Ed Helms and his wife is the French student who's lost her way, and they go off to the bathroom for 5 minutes.
Yeah, but what Howard the Duck got away with?
Yeah, I know, and that's like you could easily get away with that in a 12, and like, you know, if it was a bit more subtle, you could probably get away with it in a modern PG. But yeah, I didn't notice any F words. Maybe that's just the memory starting to fade from my brain. With that, I think we should wrap it up and give our ratings and stuff. So yeah, we have all of our ratings of the episodes we've ever done listed on our website, entertainmentofexcellence.weebly.com. You can go to the Hall of Fame section and click on a link to take us to the list. So, which part of the list are we thinking? I mean, Truman Show or Howard the Duck?
We kind of picked this
that's a spoiler, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I meant Kangaroo Jack. You misheard me.
We kind of picked this because it didn't. It was like it wasn't awful, but it wasn't kind of a lot of the median of what we do is probably like low to mid 7s. So we tried to do something that would maybe bridge the gap a bit between Birdemic and heavy metal. And I think this was, I'd probably say this is that, because I did enjoy it. But as we were saying, there was quite a few questionable ideas in it. But I think it worked pretty well for what it was.
I think I came out of it having with a much more positive impression, like the instant it stopped, and after I left it, it sort of dropped, and I'm like, oh, okay, that wasn't like as good.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's the same for me.
Because I originally thought it was going to be like high 7s, not high 7s, like mid 7s maybe, but then now I'm just looking back at it and I'm like, oh, it was all right. It wasn't a waste of an hour and 40 minutes. I think that time was well spent, but it doesn't really hold up to any of the other stuff we've got around the mid 7 mark.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go with a 6.3.
I think I did enjoy heavy metal a little bit more than it's hard to tell though, because the last 20 minutes of heavy metal were just really boring, but the rest of the film was really good. I'll go 6.3 as well. Just kind of arbitrary.
I'm just going a solid 6.
Ooh.
To throw you off.
How dare you? You described it as very, and you're giving it a 6.
I think it was fine. I think the script was mediocre, but I don't know, the weird tonal stuff and like the miscarriage thing, I just can't give it higher.
Yeah. So we're averaging on exactly 6.2, which is
You're
fair.
welcome.
Thank you.
Made it a nice average.
We love it when we have nice averages.
I do. Especially because we've got 3 of us, so it's usually awful.
Yeah. Unless we all unanimously agree on something, or we evenly spread out.
Yeah, heavy metal is unanimous. That's a bit weird, but I feel like that was.
I think
that's
we were
like the point when we were still trying to stick to the 0.5 stuff. Like
yeah, and also
0.25.
we didn't have as much stuff to compare it to. Like now we kind of have to be a bit more precise because of the volume of stuff we've done. And
I think we also had mainly the same opinion on it as well.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like not to dismiss that rating, I think that was probably fair. Like, I think we all came out thinking the same thing. I definitely stick with 6.5.
Yeah.
Could have been a
Then
7.
stick by his morals.
I do. Apart from, I thought there was something that I rated like really low, and I'm looking back and I'm like, what? I can't remember what it was. But I think we're just wasting time if I try and find that.
It was probably Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
No, it wasn't.
How dare you?
Oh, we've lost the one viewer.
Was that the one with the highest range?
Maybe.
Apart from Polar, I think.
Of one. Oh, Polar. Oh, well, the website which you should definitely visit hasn't been updated for a while, so
yeah,
I can't see that.
This is so sad. We lost our one viewer.
Oh,
I
can't go on.
Okay, so, well, if the 0 viewers watching currently and the 9 listeners who'll end up listening to at least 30 seconds of this podcast are listening to this section right now, you can. Oh crap! Felt like I needed to sneeze, but I didn't. Submission Spotlight. Oh, we have a viewer. Hello. So the Submission Spotlight section, we run weekly, but we never get any submissions, which is sad. I'm considering just searching stuff out maybe for future because it's a good section to have. I enjoy doing it. It's just annoying that we only get one every 10 episodes. Yeah, so basically we just we'll kind of just give our opinions similarly to how we do the main segment to your work of entertainment, be like a short story, some music, a short film we've had in the past, and we'll just tell you what we liked, tell you what you could do a bit better. Won't be too mean to you, but try and give you some constructive criticism. And yeah, and we'd also love to interview someone about their work and do a couple minutes of a interview, which could be pre-recorded. You don't necessarily have to do it live. So just if you're interested, if you have anything to submit you'd like us to have a look at, you can just contact us however. Just leave a comment, or ideally DM us on Instagram or Twitter at EOV Podcast, or go to our website with the contact form, or we're entertainmentofexcellence@gmail.com. Just any of the above, Just send us, please send us stuff. We'd like to hear it, or watch it, or consume it. So yeah. Now it is time for recommendations.
I've got a recommendation. Who would have guessed?
Not me.
I should probably say what it is.
You should.
Tig, you've got to go.
So I watched The Favourite, which Olivia Colman won an Oscar for, and I think it was rightly deserved. It's a period drama / comedy, mainly drama, about two servants to the Queen who are trying to be her favourite, and it's like a really clever script, and the cinematography is really unique with a lot of kind of fishbowl lenses and quick wide pans, and it's a film. It's probably the film that has got me like it made me care about the characters. But I don't know about care, but the characters are really well written. Like it's a story that for once is character driven, whereas most films that come out now are very plot driven. This one felt more like it's going this way because this is what the character would do, and the characters are really in depth and have a lot going on, and that just makes it really compelling. And the style is just unique as well. Like I don't think I've really seen anything like it, and it makes me want to check out the other films this director has done. So you should go watch The Favorite. And a lot of IMDb. Okay, one thing I will say about it is that the soundtrack is a bit odd, but I don't get all the reviews that say that it's terrible and one of the worst films I've ever seen. I do. It's one of those that has like a pretty good IMDb score and amazing critic score, which means it's going to be epic. But yeah, I really like it. So go watch The Favorite. It's on Disney Plus's new thing that stars. So watch it. Do it now.
Nice.
Are you watching it right now?
I am.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
As always, I'm great and don't have a recommendation.
Ben recommends to use your time wisely.
Yeah.
Your recommendation. I don't know what that means.
Neither do I. I was confused.
Ben recommends the film, and it is very okay.
Yeah.
I do.
All these recommendations.
I really do.
You know what? I actually also did not have a recommendation this week.
No, I can't believe you
What?
let us down like that.
Well,
I'm the only one that had a
I'll
recommendation.
say
You're being demoted
Well,
to
I guess-
special guest.
right. I'll say two things to make up for that. First of all, I guess I'll recommend watching a bit of Professional Tig.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. Or even playing a bit of Professional Tig if you want
Ooh.
to. And second of all, I know Ben's already recommended this a while ago, but I have one episode left of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I've really enjoyed. But I'll have to wait to see what the last episode's like.
Yeah, it might ruin it.
Yeah.
Hence why I
Will it ruin
recommended
it?
it.
So yeah. Watch
Okay.
Professional Tig.
So
Should I watch Professional Tig?
before we scoot off to watch Professional Tig next week, unfortunately, we will not be reviewing Professional Tig. We will be doing, drum roll please, Malcolm and Marie.
Cool.
I know nothing
Yeah.
about this. I know the title and that's it. So
It was filmed during quarantine. I know that much, right? Is that
I think
correct?
it's got a total of 2 people in it.
oh,
Charles
Ooh.
Zendaya and
Are they
what's he
Malcolm
called?
and
John
Marie?
David Washington. That's his name.
Yeah, that's his name. From Tenet.
Yeah.
Is he in Tenet? Yeah.
I
Malcolm.
apologise daily. It's actually Professional Tag. So
No, it isn't.
Oh.
maybe we need to make our own one over in the UK
Hey, Ollie.
if that
Yeah.
already exists.
No, but it changes in the UK as well. Some people call it tag in the UK.
Yes, but that's because of the Americans. Grr.
Yeah.
True.
Ollie, you're it.
What? No. Well, are the tag bags or not?
Nah.
I don't know. I said tag bags.
How
I meant
do you-
tag backs.
I mean,
Tig backs?
tig backs.
Oh, sorry.
How is Ollie it? Who?
Because
how
I
do you
just tigged
decide
him.
Who the first person it is?
I did.
Right, you're it now, Tom.
Oh no. That's so sad. I've got to wait until June the 21st to tig you.
Well, I don't. How about a social distancing tig? I don't think that would go very well.
We'll get like a broomstick handle.
Should we end this episode with all this?
Broomstick handle.
Okay, that is a good note to end the episode on.
Thank you very much for listening, the one listener or who's been dropping in and out, or the multiple listeners who've stayed for like a little bit. And well, I hope to see you next week when we're doing Malcolm, Tucker, and Marie Curie.
No!
Thanks for listening. Alright, see you.
Alright, see you.
See ya.